welcome in Brian Baldinger, do a little draft. Brian, welcome. How are you?
Mike, I'm doing great. It's good to be with you, buddy.
All right, let me start with the couple of controversies. The Packers first. How surprised were you by the quarterback pick?
I was pretty shocked. I knew his coach, Jordan Love's coach at Utah State, Matt Wells. He's at Texas Tech now, Mike. And he thought he'd get drafted in the first or second round, go to a place where he could sit, and really learn for a year. But that's not the situation in Green Bay. They went to the NFC Championship game. They need more firepower. This was the draft to get it, and they didn't get it. And so I don't know if the clock is ticking on Aaron Rodgers right now, but I was shocked that they went in that mode. And that's not to knock Jordan Love. He's got a lightning arm now. I mean, he can throw it anywhere. But I thought it was a bizarre pick.
You got a quarterback who's coming off a team that thinks it's got a lot closer last year, who thinks he's got 3 years left, about 3-4 years left to win another Super Bowl, who's already a Hall of Famer, who broke in a new coach last year, is how he looks at it, broke in a new regime last year, without a lot of issues, at least on the surface. And then they go out, and instead of getting him a weapon, they go out and get him a quarterback and trade up to get him.
Mike, he had one receiver on that unit last year, Devontae Adams, that he really trusted. Third downs, go for it on fourth down. You need a play at the end of the game, like in Seattle playoff game. Let's finish this game out. Ball's going to Devontae Adams. And everybody knew it. And they would be just so much better if they could find a complement to that. But, they drafted a running back, a big 250-pound running back from Boston College in the second round. It looks like they're changing the whole philosophy of how they want to play football right now. They went to a lot of 2 and 3 tight end looks last year and ran the ball. But, in this league, you better be able to throw it. When you're in second long, third long, you better be able to put some guys that can beat one-on-one coverage and win. And when you have a guy that could play this game in a tuxedo the way Aaron Rodgers can, it just help him out. And I feel like some organizations understand that, and I think Green Bay has been really deficient about it.
That's a strange marriage now, and one that, people already have over, which is, again, jumping the gun. Okay, they, people have them already heading to other teams, which is ridiculous. But the point is, it is a very odd message to send. And, the word came out, he didn't know about it. Well, of course he didn't know about that. If he had known about that, he would have thrown a fit before the draft. We know that going in. It bears watching what the future holds for that. We'll have to wait and see. Eagles got a lot of attention. That one doesn't bother me that much, though, because to me, you got a coach there who likes to think outside the box, and he brings in a player who's a good kid who you can use like a Swiss Army knife, who can do a lot of different things. I can buy that one. That one doesn't bother me that much.
53rd pick right there with a guy like J.K. Dobbins on the board. There's some good football players right there, Mike. I could have seen Dobbins and Miles Sanders.
I love Dobbins, first of all. I thought he was a first rounder myself, so I agree with you on the running back. But at least I know the coach has got a little plan. He might want to use him, in some short yardage stuff. He might want to use him in some different ways. He might also like him as a quarterback. That one, at least, it's not a first-round pick. You're not Aaron Rodgers. You don't have the cachet Aaron Rodgers has. You don't, and it is a second-round pick. It's not trading up in the first round. It's not as egregious. Now, you can make a case it's not the right thing if you're a young quarterback, but it's not as bad as what the Packers did.
It's not, Mike. And look, I was on record saying I want Jalen Hurts on my team. I want his professionalism. I want his competitiveness. I want that guy out there in practice every day competing. But I'm not sure that the 53rd pick, with all the needs that the Eagles had, that it was the right pick. However, if Carson Wentz plays the best football of his career because he feels like there's a fire lit there or whatever, and it makes, iron sharpens iron, that kind of thing. If it gets the best out of Carson, then it's the right pick. And I do believe, look, the Eagles have played 6 postseason games in the last 3 years, including the Super Bowl, Mike. And Carson Wentz has played a grand total of 9 snaps in those 6 postseason games. So at some point you go, maybe this is going to be the history, and we want to be a playoff team every year. Let's get ourselves a guy that looks like, I think he's going to be an NFL quarterback, whether it's with the Eagles or not. All I saw the guy did was grow in Oklahoma and compete and get better. and he's an elite athlete on top of it. Like I said, I want that guy on my football team.
All right, we're talking with Brian Baldinger. Giants and Jets. Giants, first of all, the four offensive tackles all went in the top 13 picks. Everyone likes someone differently. Some people had Wirfs first. Some people had him fourth. Some people had every one of them third and fourth. Everyone had him in a different order. Did you have any reason to like one over the other?
Well, I liked the Jets pick, Mekhi Becton, because I thought he had the best upside, Mike. He just turned 21, his size, his movement. I thought he could become a real dominant player. But I didn't really, I had them pretty close together, like you said. Everybody had them differently, no matter who you talk to. The one thing I think they liked about Andrew Thomas was he came in as an 18-year-old freshman, started right away at right tackle, all 15 games at right tackle. They went to the national championship game. Obviously they get beat by Alabama, and then Isaiah Wynn gets drafted by the Patriots, and he goes over and starts the next 2 years at left tackle. So, there may be a situation where he starts at right tackle this year, and Nate Solder isn't there after this year. Who knows? Maybe he goes over and plays left tackle. I think the fact that they saw him play both at a high level, I think that was the determining factor in them taking Andrew Thomas. The fact that he started 41 straight games for him, never missed a game with an injury, did miss the bowl game, sat that out. But other than that, he was healthy with a big NFL body on him.
So if you were picking fourth, your pick would have been Becton?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would have taken Becton. I think Joe Douglas was happy, very happy that the Giants took Andrew Thomas and it felt like it did, because that's the guy that they wanted, and it's the guy that they got.
What do you think about the second round? What do you think? Listen, you're as bad as the Giants and Jets. You expect all those guys, second, third rounders, to contribute. What do you think about how they filled out the next couple of rounds? Safety, wide receiver, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I like Xavier McKinney. 2-year starter there, started 28 straight games, forced fumbles. You pair him with Jabril Peppers back there. All of a sudden, the Giants don't look like they're just going to give up these big plays like they've been given. Looks like they got two guys that can run, that can tackle, that can hit, that can knock the ball loose. Guy had 5 forced fumbles now. It'd be nice if the Giants actually knocked the ball loose for a change and, got a few extra bats for the offense. They haven't been doing that for a long time. I like Xavier McKinney. He can cover, Mike. I thought he was the number one safety in football. I think they felt pretty fortunate. It was a pretty easy pick at number 36 to go get McKinney.
What about Mims?
Well, Denzel Mims, look, the Jets sitting there at 48, Mike. Joe Douglas trades back to 59, drops 11 spots, gets a third-round pick, and he still gets Denzel Mims. Now, you're kind of holding your breath. You got a couple guys out there that you might take, but Mims was still there. He was there at 48. He was there at 59. One thing I know about Matt Rule players, and Matt coached them for the 3 years at Baylor, is they're going to be tough. They got through the hardest practices they're ever going to get to. They got to be mentally tough. They got to be able to block. He's not fully polished yet. He's got to work on some releases and run a few different routes a little bit better. But I think he is a really great prospect with tremendous talent to work on.
What did you expect the quarterbacks to go where they did, or is that the way you expected them to go off the board at 5 and 6?
Well, you knew they were going to go high, Mike. It was just a question of, what was Miami going to do? Were they going to roll the dice with Tua, with the injuries and the history of injuries, or were they going to ignore it and just take the talent? And I think they did the right thing. Think about it. They gave up all these players, traded away all this capital so that they could be in a position to get themselves a franchise quarterback. If they didn't come away with Tua, I don't think that you would have been happy if you got Justin Herbert. I thought there was a big drop-off between the two. Now, the Chargers, took him, which is fine. They're in a situation with Tyrod Taylor there. They might not have to play him right away. They need a replacement for Phillip Rivers. I didn't have a problem with the Chargers taking him. I thought that would have been kind of backwards thinking if you trade away all this Laramie Tunsil and all the guys they traded away to go get Justin Herbert.
How good is, we're talking with Brian Baldinger, how good is Tampa Bay right now when you add in Wirfs, add in Gronkowski, what they had there last year with the tremendous firepower they had? Last year their quarterback got 33 touchdown passes. He did have 30 interceptions, but he also threw for 5,000 yards. You got Brady now. They got the tackle they wanted. They got Gronkowski to come in. Now, team gave up a ton of points last year. Also gave up 112 points just on Winston's turnovers last year. How good? I mean, do you think they're a 9-win team? You think they're better than that just by Brady's arrival and obviously everything else that's going on?
Well, I think they're better than 9 wins, Mike. They were 7-9 last year. They played Atlanta the final game of the season. It went to overtime. On the first play of overtime, Jameis Winston throws a pick six. Season was over. They ended up 7-9. It could have been 8-8. That was the story of the season. The last 6 weeks, you have to really look at that defense and look at what Devin White. You look at Vita Vea. You look at all the firepower they had on defense, whether it was Jason Pierre-Paul or Shaquille Barrett, who led the league in sacks. The defensive secondary was all rookies. They all got better. Their secondary is going to be better. I think the defense is going to be a top 10 defense. We know Todd Bowles can coach defense. I think Brady, just by mere of taking care of the football, Mike, they've got 3 more wins with a chance to compete for more. You can see that Brady already is a different guy. I mean, he's already doing talk shows, and he's being seen out in public, and he actually shows his personality now. He got Gronk to come back. It was the first call he made way before he even signed with Tampa. And you could go talk to Bruce Arians 10 minutes before kickoff. You get a good joke from him. It's just going to be a different atmosphere, but he'll bring the Patriot way to a degree with them. But I think he's going to have fun. I think Gronk is still going to be effective. I think they're going to be, right there in the playoff mix this year in the NFC South.
And they have great wide receivers. I mean, so they're going to score plenty of points. We know that. We're talking with Brian Baldinger right now. When you look at what San Francisco wound up doing, when you look at what Saints wound up doing, when you look at the top teams, what Kansas City, what Baltimore did, who's the best team right now?
San Francisco looks pretty good, Mike. I mean, they got a left tackle, that is the best left tackle in football if he's healthy, Trent Williams. Nothing against Joe Staley, but they got better there. Just think about it. DeForest Buckner is a great player. He's a Pro Bowl player that they traded away to Indianapolis, but they couldn't pay DeForest Buckner and Eric Armstead. D Ford. So they go and they get Javon Kinlaw, who, if they light a fire under him, he's the best defensive player in this draft. So you look at that, and then you look at what they did at receiver in Ayuk, who is another guy that can run a route that will fit in perfectly with Kyle Shanahan's system. I think San Francisco reloaded, and I think they're the best right now. Baltimore, though, I mean, they had a great draft, so they'll be right back where they were. I don't know if they're going to be 14-2, but I also expect them to win a playoff game this year.
What I like about, everyone always talks about going back, a generation, how good the Ravens are and how good that franchise is in drafting, and they're right. There's a perfect example, okay? I thought he was a first-round running back. He's dropping now. Running backs, first of all, don't go in the first round anyway. Andy takes a guy he wants for a special need at the end of the first round. That's fine.
Yep.
Now you got a couple of running backs, okay? The kid from Georgia goes, and now he's dropping. Dobbins is dropping. And teams, instead of adjusting, they just let him drop until Baltimore says, hey, I don't need a running back, but I'm not letting this guy pass 55. I'm not letting him go. That's how you get better. Getting a guy like that who is a legitimate top 20 player, top 25 player, and they get him in 55th pick in the draft. That's how you keep getting good players.
You're exactly right, Mike. You're exactly right. I mean, they just let the draft come to them. And if they get to a number, or they get to a pick, and they don't like somebody at that value right there, they trade back and they get more picks and they stack themselves for the following year. But I mean, whether it's, look, Queen was a first round pick. I mean, they don't make mistakes when they draft in the first round, whether it's, Ray Lewis or CJ Mosley or now, Queen. I mean, he's got all the tools you need to be a first round pick at middle linebacker. They get Justin Madubuike, who was probably the third or fourth best defensive tackle in this draft. They get better inside. They filled holes in free agency. But yes, I mean, they don't need Dobbins. They've got 3 running backs on that team, on a running team. The quarterback ran for 1,200. But he's going to play, and he may play real soon and play a big part because he is a dynamic. He's out of LaGrange, Texas, Mike. Like, he goes to Columbus, and he literally nobody could touch the ball when that guy was there. I mean, he did everything for him.
He was great. He played and played great in big games too. He was.
Yep,
I loved him. I thought he was a tremendous player. And listen, I understand running backs. It's hard for them to go in the first round. It is. It's a quarterback wide receiver league, and you got to get all your defensive guys and your tackles out of the way first. I understand that. And this was a very deep draft in wide receivers and in tackles. There's no question. But he was a steal where he got drafted. Absolute steal.
He was my number one running back. He was my number one.
Yeah, I liked him too. And listen, the Georgia kid's good. I like him. And Georgia backs are always very good. I can't believe what LSU did. To have 14 guys, I don't care. Listen, we know LSU had a great year. But to have 14 guys drafted on 7 rounds is almost mind-boggling. I mean, that is in 7 rounds of draft to have 14 guys taken in one draft. That is unbelievable.
4 offensive linemen, Mike.
That is incredible. I mean, you got guys who aren't full-time starters getting drafted. That's unbelievable.
Well, it's the type of talent they get there at LSU. I mean, I've always said, like, if I'm recruiting, and I'm looking to build a team, like, I'm going to LSU first. I'm going to LSU first every year because, like, a guy like I'm at Lane Johnson's house from the Eagles. I mean, he was using his weight room here, and we were talking about Daniil Hunter, who's a Pro Bowl defensive end for the Vikings, who went to LSU. Mike, he didn't start at LSU. He's a Pro Bowl defensive end for the Vikings. I mean, guys that don't start at LSU.
Yeah, it's amazing. You got guys who missed years. You got guys who were behavior problems, guys who had problems with all different things, and they get drafted. So it shows you how much. Listen, Alabama's always got players, and they now out Alabama. They got better players than Alabama has, which is hard to do. I mean, it really is. 14 guys. I mean, I mean, I go back to the old days when you go back when USC used to have all those players, and But 14 is unbelievable. I mean, that is
Mike,
that's insane.
You go to these towns off the bayou and some of these recessed areas because of Katrina, and you just go to Destrin High School where Justin Jefferson was from, Ed Reed was from, and they love football. They know football is they know it's their ticket, man. They love the game, and it shows. They love to practice. They love to compete. Go out there and Jamal Adams, I don't care. Just go watch these guys practice, watch them play. They love the game, Mike.
What guy, we're talking with Brian Baldinger, was there a guy in the first round or a guy in the first 15 picks that you thought was not a great pick?
Yeah, I thought the Raiders, and I loved Henry Ruggs. I had no problem with that, but I thought the corner was a reach there. I thought it wasn't a great draft for corners, so I thought teams were reaching. And so it's just, your particular cut. But I like a guy that has ball skills and doesn't commit a lot of penalties.
Which wide receiver did you like the best?
I like Ruggs the best. I thought CeeDee Lamb was as polished as anybody that's come out of this draft in a long time, but I thought Ruggs had tremendous upside. I thought you put the ball in his hands in all the ways that they do now with the bubble screens and, the sweeps and all the stuff that you do right now. Like that guy, you don't need a stopwatch to watch that guy run. You know he's the fastest guy in the field. And
will we be talking about Chase Young next year, or will he be, wow, whatever happened to Chase Young next year?
I've said this. I think that, when I compare him to Nick Bosa, I thought Bosa had more moves. I thought he was stronger. But I do like Chase Young's takeoff, and I do like his athletic ability. Some of these guys, Mike, you get them on the practice field, and you just go, what did he just do? Like, it raises the level. That's what Bosa did in San Francisco. It just raised everybody's performance around him. Because his talent level, you see it every day in practice. It's like that in the NBA. We're watching Jordan's show right now. He goes out there, he just makes everybody better. And I think Chase has that chance. They've been stockpiling number 1 picks on the defensive line for 5 straight years in a row now. You may actually see Jonathan Allen and, some of these guys actually become really good players like Eric Armstead did this year in San Francisco.
I always like to look at it this way. I always ask this question when I talk to the NFL guys. I say, who's the best I'll say, all right, who's the best in 5 years? Who's the best defensive player out of this draft? Who is it? Do you think it's Young or it's somebody else?
I think Jabbar Kinlaw could be the best.
Okay. And who's the best offensive lineman out of this draft in 5 years?
I think Mekhi Becton will be the best.
And who's the best quarterback out of this draft in 5 years?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say anything negative about Joe Burrow and what he did this year.
You think he's legit, or did he just have a world of talent around him and have the right coordinator and everything fell into place, or is he legit?
So here's what happened between 2018 and 19, Mike. They even go back to Ohio State. The one thing Joe Brady, who came from New Orleans and was, seeing Drew Brees and Sean Payton's system, is he recognized that this guy had the ability to make reads faster than anybody had seen, like a Ginsu knife, like through a meat grinder. And so he said, let's just get 5 receivers out. Let's get 5 receivers out every play. Let him make the decision. And, oh, by the way, if you think that you're going to blitz us, he's going to carve you up. If you want to play coverage, he can pull the ball down and run. So, he was indefensible last year. And, yes, the talent around him was supreme. He had protection. But his ability to read defenses and get the ball out accurately in the tight spots was unmatched. Talking to Sam Darnold about him because they're working out together in California. He doesn't have an elite arm. That's how you would knock him. But if you have great anticipation and premier accuracy, you can make up for that.
He had, to be fair, he had the best year I ever saw a college player have. I mean, no one's ever had a better year, counting regular season and postseason. The guy was unbelievable, and his postseason games were unbelievable.
But think about it, Mike. 60 touchdown passes in 15 games. That's 4 games. I mean, if you have 2 in one game, you got to have 6 the next game just to maintain the average. And you're playing, and you look at the teams that LSU beat.
They beat 8 ranked teams. They beat 8 ranked teams.
Yeah. Nobody beats 8 ranked teams to win a national championship. They may win 3 or 4, maybe 5. But not 8.
No, he played great. He played great last year. Hard to knock him out. He's got a little edge to him too. He's got a little cockiness to him too, which you don't mind seeing in a quarterback.
There was his composite. You could say, okay, Andrew Luck. I mean, pick Cam Newton. Pick a guy that was number 1. I think he grades out better than all of them.
Wow. So you think he's going to be a good player?
I do. I do, and I think you just have to take some. I was just watching Nick Saban do a show yesterday, breaking down the national championship, and he was breaking down all these concepts that LSU was having and why Clemson was having all these problems. And you go, this would be crazy for Cincinnati not to literally install this playbook. It's an NFL playbook with protections. You got A.J. Green. You just drafted T. Higgins. You got a great running back. Put this playbook in for this kid. Let him go because it's an NFL playbook.
So what team did you like? What team did you come out of the draft and say, I really like what this team did?
Well, I mean, the Ravens were off the charts good, Mike. The Minnesota Vikings, you want to trade away Stephon Diggs, but you go get Justin Jefferson. I mean, they couldn't believe the Eagles passed on Jefferson. And then you go get yourself a bunch of quarterbacks. They got 15 players. I think they got themselves a right tackle, a left tackle. I mean, they did outstanding. I think San Francisco did well. I thought there was a lot of teams that really helped themselves out.
Well, listen, thanks. I appreciate the time. We'll talk soon. Thanks very much, Brian.
All right, my pleasure, Mike.
Thank you.
Buddy.
Brian Baldinger, back after this.